Hi, welcome to the Outpost Mobile Food Center recipe demo. My name is Lydia and you've probably seen me before at the Outpost offering food samples, if you've been to the Outpost before. Since I can't do that for you right now, I thought that I would show you how to make a delicious recipe right from my own kitchen. Today we're going to be making a dip with garbanzo beans. If you've been to the pantry recently, you've probably gotten a couple of cans of garbanzo beans. Usually when I talk to people, they say that they don't know what to do with them, or they say, oh, those are great, you can use them to make hummus. And that's true, but they're really versatile and you can make a lot of things with garbanzo beans, like the dip that we're going to make today. So the recipe we're gonna make today is a lemony garbanzo bean dip. I got this recipe from the Food Hero website, which is where I get a lot of the recipes that I use for my demos. It's a great resource for cheap, healthy, and pretty delicious recipes. So you should check it out if you have time after this. So first we're gonna start with a can of chickpeas. Now you're going to want to rinse them and drain them. I like to rinse them because it takes a little bit of that extra sodium away from your garbanzo beans, and it also kind of gives you a nice clean slate and reduces some of the liquid that you're going to have in your overall dish when you're done. One thing to note is that garbanzo beans actually have this little skin on them, and some people really like to peel it off. It's as easy as just kind of pinching it and peeling it off. It really doesn't matter. It's more of a preference thing. If you're making a dip, sometimes removing the peel, the little skin can actually make a smoother, creamier dip, which a lot of people like. But it is kind of time consuming, so I usually don't like to do it. And by usually, I mean I never do that. So we're not going to worry about peeling them. First, we're going to mash them up. You have some different options for that. You can either blend them in a food processor or a blender if you have one, and that's going to give you a smoother, creamier dip like hummus. Or you can actually just mash them with a fork. Or a potato masher if you happen to have one. When I did not have one of these, I actually used to just use a regular flat-bottomed jar to mash up my beans. And I still do that sometimes because I think it's actually a little easier than the potato masher, especially this one that I have here because it tends to get stuck. So I'm actually just going to use my jar for today. And I'm just gonna go ahead and start mashing these up. And this is why I like this method, because you just shove your hand in there and I kind of like to fluff it up a little bit when I'm done mashing, just so it's not quite so flat and stuck to the bottom of the bowl. So now that our chickpeas are all mashed up, you're gonna wanna add 1 cup of sour cream. I'm not actually using sour cream. I'm substituting some plain yogurt. You've probably heard before that you can substitute plain yogurt for sour cream, and it's absolutely true. They taste really similar. The one thing that you're going to want to watch out for is sometimes yogurt, especially if you're using a regular yogurt instead of a plain Greek yogurt, is that it might be a little more runny than sour cream, which is fine. It just means that you might want to watch how much other liquid you're actually adding to your recipe. So I'm just going to pour that right in. I really like these little spatulas because they're great for scraping out every last bit and not wasting anything. And it also makes it easier to clean up. And I'm doing a little bit more mashing now that I've added my yogurt in, because the liquid kind of makes it a little bit easier to mash those chickpeas up a little bit further, and just to make sure everything gets combined really well. So now that we've mixed together our sour cream or yogurt and our garbanzo beans, we're gonna add a little bit of oil and vinegar. Here I made another substitution because the recipe calls for lemon juice, which would also be delicious and make it true to its name, lemony garbanzo bean dip. but I didn't have any lemons or lemon juice. So I had rice vinegar, so that's what I'm gonna use. But you could also use apple cider vinegar or even just regular plain white vinegar. The one thing with that is it might make the recipe a little more pungent than you're wanting. So you might just want to add a little bit of sugar or something like that to replace some of the sweetness that you would lose from not using the lemon juice. So I'm just going to add that. Mix that up. So now that we've mixed that together, I'm going to add our seasonings. So this is just a blend of cumin, garlic powder, and red pepper flakes. For the spiciness, you could add hot sauce like the recipe suggests. If you don't have hot sauce, you could definitely substitute it with the red pepper flakes like I did, or if you have cayenne, you could use that. If you're not a fan of really spicy food, you could just leave out the pepper, the hot pepper element altogether and just use a regular black pepper. It's entirely up to you and your preferences. So I'm just going to add that in. Now I added extra cumin than the recipe called for because I tend to like things probably more seasoned than people really care for. But again, that's the great thing about these recipes is they're so flexible that you can really add or subtract things as suits your preferences. So I'm just going to mix that in. Now the last couple of things that we're going to add are cilantro. And again, I mentioned that I really like seasoned things, so I probably cut up more cilantro than the recipe calls for, but that's okay. So I'm just going to add my cilantro. When you're cutting up your cilantro, a lot of people think that you have to pull the leaves off before you chop it up. And you don't have to do that. You're welcome to if you really don't like the stems. You can chop the stems up with the leaves, maybe just leaving the really thick bottom stems out, but you don't have to totally peel the leaves off before you use them and chop them up. Now the last step is I cut up some green onions because I had them in my fridge and I thought that it would be a nice little extra addition. You do not have to add these if you don't have green onions or you don't care for them, but I just thought that it would add a little bit of that nice green color. And here's our final product. You can enjoy it just like you see now with some fresh veggies and crackers, or you could even try it as a new kind of sandwich filling. Either way, I hope that you've learned a new way to enjoy some chickpeas by watching this video, and you've seen just how easy it is to make substitutions to a recipe so that it fits your needs and your preferences. That's it for me for now, but we'll see you again soon at the Outpost, and thanks for watching.